Word. All right, we are back. I know, back-to-back episodes. That's crazy in back-to-back days. And as you can clearly see, I am also not here alone this time. I am joined by my good buddy, Matt Hartman. Buddy, how you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, Jared. I'm stoked
Absolutely.
about our Phils. You know, I live and die with this team.
As do I.
162. If I don't watch all 162, obviously I'm checking on my phone, Gamecast. But for the most part, I would say I've watched the majority of the games this year, obviously, as you know as well as anybody. So I'm
Yeah.
stoked.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, me and Matt have been friends since like high school, and we text during every single Phillies game being like, what in God's name is this idiot doing when Joe Girardi was the manager, when Gabe was the manager, and now we are blessed with Philly Rob, and thank God for that. So as we talked about
Brandon Workman, and who's the other guy?
Heath Embry,
Heath Hembry, yeah.
MVP, we traded Nick Pivetta for Heath Embry. Never forget that.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, listen,
Not talking about the 20s Phillies.
dude, I'm just saying that the 2020 Phillies were held back by Joe Girardi, and I will die on that hill. That team was a playoff team, and Joe Girardi sank them.
If it was up to Joe, though, he would say that he wasn't the issue. No, he's not.
And no. He said, like, my favorite tweet from Joe Girardi, or favorite saying from Joe Girardi, was when he was like, the other team's trying to compete too. Oh, really? Yeah. You don't say, bud. Yep. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that absolute fraud, which I was listening to WIP, and someone said that I know this is getting ahead of ourselves, but if the Phillies win the World Series, does Joe Girardi deserve a ring? What is your thought on that?
Does he deserve it? No. But I think by league rule, he has to. I'm not positive. Don't quote me on that. But I think by league rule, if you manage or participate or blah, 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 play in a certain amount of games, that you get a ring. Not sure if I would accept it if I was Joe. No. And don't quote me on that rule because I don't know what the percentage is. So I don't know if he qualified for that or not. But that's just my understanding of
if I see somebody say two-time World Series champion manager Joe Girardi, or no,
it won't be that. I don't think it'll be a two-time.
Yeah, I know, but like you look at the pedigree, and it's like, oh, he's a two-time. Anyway, F that guy. I'm glad he's not our problem anymore. Any Hoosers, we talked about in the episode I did yesterday that Phillies beat the Braves, and pretty handedly too. They were an error away from it really being a coin toss in Game 2. Hartman, what do you got on that Braves series? What was going through your head during that entire thing?
Well, I don't know about you, but I never, maybe in the first few innings of the first game when Ranger was starting to get in trouble and loaded the bases in the first, but that double play that he hit in that Mendoza, the unassisted double play, that changed everything for me.
Yeah.
Like if I don't know who was that, Darnell, I think, or was it Darnell or Contreras?
I think it was Contreras, the one in the first inning.
I think it was too, but yeah, I think it was who no matter what.
Yeah.
That if he hits one in the gap, bases clear, it's 3-2, and that game one automatically just goes off the rails to get Bilotti or whoever up in the bullpen, Syndergaard or Gibson.
Don't even talk about
it. Yeah, but get a long reliever up in the bullpen. If he does not hit in the double play, I think that changed everything. I think that changed Rangers' confidence for the last 3 innings of that game, and I think that changed the Phillies' confidence that we can hang in there with them. Because if you remember, the last time the Phillies were in Atlanta, I was at the first game on Friday. We got swept, and we got swept pretty handily.
Yeah.
I think if whoever was up at the plate then hits one in the gap, they're like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah,
and I think that settled everything down, and I think they gave them belief.
Yeah, I we always said, when we were texting or whatever, and I've been saying, till my throat hurt, was just take one in Atlanta and we win the series. And that's exactly what happened, and, the Reese play did happen, and that's a play you have to make if you're a first baseman.
Butch.
I don't, what's up?
I said Butch. That's why his name. Butch.
Dude, I don't understand why he tries to do that backhand thing.
He doesn't even go forward. He falls back and then reaches out with his glove.
It's like, dude, just make the play, and who knows what happens in Game 2. But
on Friday was even worse. The drop.
Oh my God, the double play, dude. What are we doing?
But the three where he made up for it. He made up for it.
That. So Game 1, they win. When Olsen hit that home run, I had a gut feeling we were going to win that game. because that's a rally killer. Like as weird as it is to say, like a home run is a rally killer, but it kind of is.
It settled one down, I think, not having any runners on base. I think it settled them down. And
then the Castellanos catch, which was Gold Glove defender. I thought the Phillies couldn't play defense, but got a little bit there.
Well, that's another one right there. Like the Sosa double play, I think that calmed everything down in game one. If that goes by him, it's a double at least, and it could be a triple the time around on third or second with 1 out and 2 outs, and who knows what happens after that. And Eflin didn't have good command that game, so I'll tell you that too. But he really battled for the Phillies after that, after the 3-run home by Olsen.
For him to really hunker down there and trust his stuff, and like you said, he didn't have his best stuff, but to trust his stuff and to really attack hitters. And that's what Eflin's been doing. I feel like ever since he got into the bullpen is he attacks hitters almost to a fault. But, look at a game like yesterday and his stuff was unreal. Like every pitch, the sinker and everything was just like, woo. It was like he was throwing a wiffle ball, for God's sakes.
Do you want me to turn my light off in the back? I just noticed that.
Oh no, dude, you're good. It's fine. Right. Yeah.
Weird.
No, but and then you get to game 2, and that was the kind of game where if you shared the same feeling, was one of those games where nothing went right for the Phillies in that game. And
but Wheeler was amazing. Like I would argue that I think Wheeler had better stuff and better command of every single one of his pitches than he did in St. Louis, and he did go in St. Louis. I think if Reese makes that play, who knows? We could sweep.
But I will die on the hill. Dansby Swanson struck out and the umpire missed the call. I will die on that hill. I don't care that the series is over. If that ball to Schwarber was a strike, then that ball to Swanson is a strike.
Yeah, it wasn't a strike. By the rules, it wasn't.
But both times it wasn't a strike. But I'm saying by rule, if Schwarber struck out, so did Dansby.
Yeah, if you want to say if that actually helps you sleep at night, then
Oh, absolutely. I slept like a baby knowing that. Now that the series is over, I'll sleep like a damn baby. But that happens, and like you said, Wheeler was great. We saw Syndergaard briefly in that game, and the bullpen in this entire series was fantastic. Outside of that first game.
And outside of Brogdon, I think he got up a few runs in, I think it was a game 1. Yeah, Brogdon in game 1 was awful. But he finished game 3. But outside of Brogdon and a couple of the middle guys in game 1, Hand did a great job both times.
Surprisingly.
Eflin did a good job. And surprisingly, you would never think Hand's ERA is under 3.
I have said it. He's the biggest fraud in this bullpen.
He helps though. You need another lefty.
He does.
He's a lefty and has experience, and I mean he's better than Nick Nelson. So I guess.
Hey, whoa! Don't talk smack about Nick Nelson. I'm a big Nick.
And I think speaking of the Phillies bullpen, I think that if David Robertson, we haven't gotten anything on him. So if he can come back,
dude,
and have the back end, I don't think he would pitch much because I think their back end is stable. But if he's just another veteran arm they can have in the bullpen because I think.
And if you have a guy like Robertson and talking to a guy like Brogdon, who really is struggling with confidence, in my opinion, and have him being like, look, just trust your stuff and everything will come. Like Brogdon looked great on game 3. And, it's tough to say because it wasn't a very high leverage situation. And I don't know how much the Braves were really trying to put competitive at-bats up there. So it's very hard to say if you trust Brogdon, but Jesus, imagine how great this bullpen, in my opinion, is great as
I think
is.
Like very underrated.
It is.
I would say it's great because it doesn't have depth like other bullpens, but the back end with Alvarado, Sir Anthony, and I guess you can include Eflin, even though it doesn't have the power arm that the other two have.
It's effective.
I would rather have Eflin or Sir Anthony and Alvarado than I would say any of these other bullpens.
Absolutely.
Alvarado, in my opinion, is not just the best left-handed reliever, but I think he's the best reliever in the sport right now.
Well, dude, what about the Mets? What about
and
Edwin Diaz? He had a really cool intro for a month.
Yeah, exactly. But no one touches Alvarado right now. Obviously, I know Darno lit a homer off him, and
but garbage time.
Exactly, and he's just filthy. When Alvarado's in the game, and who would have thought you'd be saying that in June or late May when he went to AAA? And whoever the AAA pitching coach is, they found himself. Like he came back and he looks unreal. He's throwing 100 with sink. It's impossible to hit. Then he's got the cutter in on the hands at 95. It's impossible.
It's unreal. And I forget who it was that talked to Sir Anthony. I think it was in the Cardinal series where he was like, "Yeah, are you good?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, just literally throw it down the middle and let your movement do the work.
Exactly. So, those two are filthy. They have the most movement I've seen of any relievers, and they're just like I would have confidence getting 9 outs with just using them two if we need to in a big situation.
Absolutely, because they both have gone multiple innings in this postseason alone, and so yeah, getting Robertson back is going to be huge, and then you go. That's just going to add another veteran arm for these young guys, the inexperienced guys, the Eflins, the Brogdons. Alvarado picked in the postseason before with the Rays. No, the Rays didn't make it that year.
Yeah, he may have in 2020 in the COVID year. I think
wasn't he on? No, that's right. Yeah, last year was his last year, our first year here. That's right. But to have that guy back is going to be huge. But before we, move on, Game 3 back at Citizens Bank Park, that game literally gave me chills from start to finish.
It was electric, and it's just the at bat by Bryson Stott changed the whole game. Like
absolutely,
if he have that 9 to 10 or whatever it was, 9 or 10 pitch at bat, and obviously it helped by Strider throwing the ball away and Marsh getting the third. But if he didn't have that 9 pitch at bat, Reese doesn't come up in that inning, and he doesn't hit that 3-run homer. Bryce doesn't hit the 2-run homer. That changed everything, and that I think it rattled Strider a little bit. And I have no idea. I know it was the third inning and there's a base open, but why would you walk Schwarber? He was 0 for 16. I know Reese was struggling too, but Schwarber came into the game 0 for 16. He struck out his first at bat. I would not.
Makes zero sense. I get you're trying to set up the double play, and Reese is a double play machine.
I've never seen someone intentionally walk in the third inning.
What are you doing? Maybe they I don't know, but I think the funniest thing was, Strider comes in the first inning pumping like 100, 101, and then that ball to Reese was 93 miles an hour.
And my guy asked him, he thought he threw it like the 101 pitch. They in postgame, he's like, I didn't feel anything. I thought the pitch was just like I usually do, 101, and it ended up being 93, and Reese cranked it.
Yeah, that game was great. Then you had the Bryce 2-run homer, which I was screaming my head off, and it was just. I've needed a Bryce moment in the postseason at home, and that is exactly what we got twice. Think about it. And then, bullpen, Nola was just, he's been unreal his past 3 starts. I'd like give him all the money he wants, for God's sakes.
They need to do that this offseason because his contract's coming up, and it'll be interesting to see what they do with Reese. But let's not talk about the offseason yet. We're not there yet.
We're not there yet, man. There will be an off-season podcast, probably multiple, but we ain't there yet. We're used to it. We're used to it being now, but it ain't. And then yesterday happened, and God, that was Brandon Marsh. And like I texted you this earlier, like Brandon Marsh is skyrocketing as one of my favorite Phillies. Like obviously Garrett Stubbs is number 1. He will never be taken. I love Garrett Stubbs, but Brandon Marsh is a close second.
Well, here's the one thing, not just Brandon Marsh, but I think a big reason why this team didn't have the attendance numbers that you would think they would have in a postseason race in the regular season. Nobody knows the team because they're not. If you remember in 2007 to 11 run, J. Roll and Chase. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but Jay and Chase and Ryan and Cole, they were always out in public. They were celebrating every single year. They got to see what their actual personalities were outside of baseball. And a lot of people thought this was just a team. I honestly believe that. And you're seeing it now with the players going to Xfinity Live after the game and celebrating. We know who these guys, we knew who Bryce was. We know,
obviously.
Nick, have you?
I've never seen him smile.
That's what I was just ready to say. If before the postseason, would you know what he sounded like?
No.
Have you ever heard him talk? JT, he doesn't talk much. You never.
But he's like screaming in the clubhouse.
Like their personalities now. Bryson on Instagram Live and Topper going to the Xfinity Live after the game with the team, and Stubbs going into the crowd yesterday.
Did you see that? Did you see that thing? I think it was when they clinched the wild card. Derek Hall had Stubbs on his shoulders partying. I love Brad Miller, but I don't think he could have brought the energy that this team has right now.
Well, yeah,
he was always he was always like the high vibes guy, like the hype guy, but nothing compares to Garrett Stubbs, ultimate hype guy.
You're not a big fan of the 2021 pennant race Phillies with Brad Miller hitting cleanup and protecting Bryce.
They rolled out a lineup with Ronald Torres, Brad Miller, Didi Gregorius, and
hey, don't forget Jorge Bonifacio. They put
yeah, it's starting in a pennant race. Jorge Bonifacio. Oh my God, that I don't know what was worse, that or the 2018 lineup, and you know which one I'm talking about.
Sucked going in, but
how the hell was that team competitive, dude?
Yeah, then they lost 8 straight at the end of the year. But let's focus on the 2022 Phillies.
Future World Series champion Philadelphia Phillies.
Who knows, though? Like, you're bringing it up now.
Team of destiny. Can't ignore it.
There's a limit. They can do whatever now. Like there's no limit. Yeah. They're 4 wins away from going to the World Series.
4 wins away from a party on Broad Street, baby.
Do I think they can beat Houston in a best of 7? Probably not.
It's a rite of passage, because if you look, the 2019 Nationals beat the Astros last year. Braves beat the Nationals. They're like, come on.
Well, I would have a lot more confidence. Let's just focus on the Padres. But if the Phillies move on to the World Series, I have a lot more confidence in Cleveland or New York, but who knows?
Cleveland's extremely underrated.
They are, yeah. But
they're a damn good team. But anyway, before we talk about the World Series, there's a series we have to talk about. The NLCS Phillies Padres Tuesday, 8:07. Probably going to be what, Wheeler against Darvish?
I would think it'd be Wheeler, Darvish, and then I'm curious to see what the Phillies do in Game 2. I know you think, Aaron Nola, but if they win Game 1, if it's up to me, I'd go Ranger in Game 2 and then have Game 3, and then you can pitch him in Game 7 too.
I agree.
If there is a Game 7,
I would go Wheeler, Suarez. If they lose, go Nola. Yeah, if they lose, go Nola. If you win Game 1 with Wheeler, go with Ranger. But this is going to be.
He'll do it. I think he'll just go Nola either way.
Yeah, so do I. But that's what this series is kind of like 2 teams of fate meeting, because both are wild card teams and they're both playing in the NLCS. So it's not going to be the Phillies are underdogs. Sure, they are statistically and record wise, but Phillies played the Padres well this year. They had the season series against them. They had the same thing with the Dodgers, but I thought the narrative was Phillies can't beat bad teams. Phillies only beat bad teams, but anyway. But how are you feeling about this series right now, as you sit now on Monday? Sunday?
You could say it's underdogs, but both these teams have 2 top 5 payrolls, so it's not like they're the Guardians and the Mariners coming in with bottom 5 payrolls playoff. Yeah, but it's these 2 teams have they went for it. They got Soto and Drury and Hader, and the Phillies got obviously Nick and Schwarber and all those guys at the deadline, Marsh and Syndergaard. They're similar. They went for it at the deadline, believing that this is a possibility. Both teams, obviously, the Phillies didn't get Juan Soto, but they went for it as well and got some additions to the team to help. But I'm feeling good. There's a lot of key storylines. Snell versus Bryce is number 1. Mm-hmm. Number 2, you got the Nola brothers. Mm-hmm. And you would think that they would root for Aaron if he's pitching, just because season 2 of the 7 games. But who knows? I don't know what that family's going to do. And I would not
I would not want to be at Thanksgiving dinner with the Nola family after this series.
But I think I feel good. I really do. I think the Padres pitching's a lot better than the Dodgers, because they got Darvish and Musgrove and Snell and Clevenger in a game 4. Yeah. And I think I would throw Wheeler and Nola up against anybody in the reigning playoffs right now. I really would. Mm-hmm. And
absolutely
having those 2 and saving the bullpen, they each go 6 or 7 every single time.
And they have been.
They have. Yeah, and then we need Ranger. We need a good Ranger start this series.
I think we will. I think those nerves got shaken in Atlanta, like the nerves that he had coming in, like first postseason start. It's a big start. It's in Atlanta, and I feel like if he does start Game 3, it's going to be at home, so he's going to be a lot more comfortable. So I'm a lot more confident in him to bounce back, because his command was all over the place in Atlanta. But then, do you think Josh Hader is crapping his pants because he has to face Matt Vierling and Alec Boehm again?
Yeah, right. He has gotten a lot better though. In the month of September, he's really locked in right now after that really struggle in August. But here's another thing: like in a 7-game series, there's only 1 day off, which is ridiculous in my opinion. There's no travel day between Game 5 and 6. So you're telling me they got to finish up that game on Game 5? They finish at like 6. Then you got to fly 6 hours across country, land at 3 a.m., and then you got to play a game that same day. Makes sense, but whatever. But everybody's going to be, every pitcher, including Kyle Gibson, like everybody that's on that roster needs to be ready to go. They do. Like in a 7-game series where you play 7 games in 8 days against that lineup, and you're going to have Noah Wheeler, obviously, probably in 4 of the 7, assuming it does go 7. But I think Rangers going to start one, and I think another one will come out of the bullpen. Every starter needs to be ready to go out of the bullpen because besides the one that pitched the previous game, because in a 7-game series, it's not a 5-game series anymore.
Nope.
It's going to be all hands.
All hands, absolutely. And that's why I think like, so say, you have Nola, Wheeler, Suarez, but then do you do what they did yesterday? Do Syndergaard?
Well, here's the thing that I think normally they go Falter, but the Braves number one rake against Falter and rake against lefties. So I think that's the reason why they will start it with Thor. So I think they combo again with Syndergaard and Falter because the Padres are very left-handed heavy lineup. Besides Machado and Myers and all those guys, but they have a lot of lefties in their lineup.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, Josh Bell's a switch hitter.
Josh Bell's switch hitter, but obviously Soto and Cronenworth and all those guys in their lineup. I think Falter matches up a little better against them than he does the Braves. So I think he'll be seen in the series, whether it's starter or out of the bullpen. And I think they need to. They need everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody.
And I think so. Here's my thing with Kyle Gibson. Obviously, he was dreadful in September, but he has not pitched in nearly a month.
Yep.
Does that rest fixes his, because seemingly it was like dead arm, like he was just throwing meatballs up there. Would you trust Kyle Gibson in maybe would you trust him as a starter, or would you rather have him take down 2 innings?
Game. I think if he comes in, it'll be to get an out against a right-hander or something like that. But also he could be also used because there's probably going to be a blowout or two in the series, whether it's one way or another, just to save the bullpen. If he wants to go a couple innings at the end of the game, if the Phillies are up big or the Padres are up big.
Which I'm shocked we didn't see him in the Brave series when they were up 9-1.
I think he didn't want to tip his hand on who's starting.
Yeah, good point.
Because he was still in consideration. That's one of the reasons.
That's a good point.
But yeah, I think everybody, I think everyone's going to have to be used in this series, and I think everyone will be. But Brogdon has to get right. They're not going to need him for high leverage, but in those middle innings when Ranger starts, I think they're going to need him. And Bilotti's got some big outs in this series. He's ready. But you can't. Yes, we love Sir Anthony, we love Alvarado, but you can't be pitching them inning plus every single night for 7.
That's why these guys need to step up. Brogdon, Eflin.
Yep, absolutely. And they need and in the Nola Wheeler starts, you need them to continue what they're doing, because if they have a clunker, then it flips them off script, and they're going to have to go to innings before they want it to. So they need Nola Wheeler to do what they've been doing, and I think they have as good a chance as anyone to win it all and win this series.
Absolutely. Like, the whole thing is like, why not? Why not the Phillies right now? You can't really count them out.
Yep, the way they're playing, I agree.
Anything could happen. Like, Cinderella stories happen all the time, and I'm not saying like this is a Cinderella story, but dear God, can you imagine like the city would go into a frenzy if they somehow pulled this off? And I feel like the city's already behind this team because of the underdog stories of this team, the trials and tribulations that they've been through. And, whatever happens, this season was a massive success. They have their manager of the future. They have these cornerstone guys, the Stotts, the Bohms, see what they do with Hoskins. They have these guys
in the minors, and Painter or Bell and McGarry. You still got those.
They're only going to get. This is only the beginning of whatever chunk of this. Hopefully, it's continued success, and it's not like blocked off like it has been our entire lives. But this is just the beginning. Like, people are going to want to come here because they see the energy here. They see the fans coming out. They see, everything that's been going on with this team so far. And that, like, being a Phillies fan right now is the best it's been since like the 07 to 11 run.
It has. And it's almost tears to my eyes just watching that crowd, and just chills that I got watching the crowd. And just that when Hoskins hit that, everyone knew it was gone. And that's when I'm like, we're winning the series. Like, I thought I was confident before that, but I'm like, we're winning the series. Like, they're not losing. And if you looked at game 4, Ronald Acuna, number one, he didn't back up center. Not even that he sucked. He wasn't interested. He didn't back up center. He bobbled that ball in right. He misplayed the one I think Marsh hit. In the gap center. Didn't back up the inside the park homer. He did not want any part of that game. And once Marsh hit that 3-run homer, I think the Braves checked out and like, oh, this isn't us. And
the only one that didn't was Darno and Olsen. Are the only two that didn't check out. So, Philly killer Travis Darno.
Yeah, and I've spent 4 or 5 years just absolutely jealous of the Atlanta Braves organization, the way that they go about things, and I still am. They're an amazing organization.
Yeah, it sucks. I hate it.
but just the way they lock up players, the fact that we beat them and just and besides the one inning in Game 6, where
handedly, we beat them handedly.
And you could say that Game 1 was close, yeah, but it was kind of a blowout for a while. I never really thought the game was in doubt until Olsen hit the homer. Then I thought
that was a fly out. I thought that was going to be a sac fly, and the ball just kept going.
Yeah, I got all in on his hands, but yeah, we completely outplayed them, and I think we need to do the same thing if we need to beat the Padres.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be easy, and you said the same thing. I said the same thing about the Brave series. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be. I think it's going to go to like 6 games. I have the Phillies in 6.
I have Phillies in 6 as well.
And it's going to be tough. It's not going to be. I mean, who knows? Not to say the Brave series was easy, because there was a lot of tense moments, but looking back on that Brave series, it was pretty easy for the Phillies. They hit well, they pitched well, they did everything great. There wasn't a lot of grittiness that had to be had, other than like Game 1 and Game 2. But even then,
and just the moves that he made, switch flip-flopping Stott and Marsh into the 9-hole. Marsh hits the 3-run homer out of the 9-hole. Same thing in Game 3. Stott hitting higher than Marsh and hits a double. And then they the pitching he did yesterday with the bullpen
was beautiful.
It was insane, just the way that
literally outside of the one pitch that Syndergaard, the home run to Arcia, Syndergaard literally did the exact thing that was scripted that Thompson wanted, which was 3 innings.
And after,
how can you not be impressed with that? Imagine this. You ready for this? Imagine putting your best reliever in the highest leverage situations.
And he's been doing it all postseason long with Sir Anthony and Alvarado. And also just after Game 2, the whole city, including me, and I think you were too, wanted Reese and Schwarber out of the 1 and 2 hole. I would have kept Schwarber there, but I myself said Reese should move, and he's like, nope, I'm sticking with it because these are my guys. And he was right. And then the 3-1 homer, and just he has such a belief in this team, and I think the players believe in him and
ride with Philly Rob.
Ride with him, yep. And it's amazing, just the chemistry. And I think that 19 days or whatever the hell they were on the road for really connected them. I really do. Yep. I believe that the celebrations they had together in Houston and in St. Louis, and the downs they had in Chicago. If you remember, that road trip started in Chicago, we got swept. Then 2 days later,
now they're in the ALCS 2 weeks later.
And we lost 13-4 in DC a couple days later. And they stuck with it, and Rob stuck with them, and everyone was behind. And the Marlins helped us out a little bit against Milwaukee.
Our Miami Marlins.
Absolutely. But I just love the way this team is bonded and came together, and it's amazing. And I hope it continues.
Yeah, I mean, it's you just got to go one game at a time. And now so our official statement, we both have Phillies in 6.
Yep. How about NLCS MVP? Last time the Phillies were in this, it was Cole that won it in 08. I don't know who won in 09.
Was it Cliff Lee?
I think it was Jimmy. Yeah, I think it was Jimmy. Was it Cliff? It was one of the two, because Jimmy had the walk off in Game 4. I don't remember who it was, but who's your MVP in the NLCS?
NLCS MVP. I am going with Kyle Schwarber.
I could see it.
I think he turns it on. He had a couple good games in Philly, and I think he turns it on, and we're going to see October Schwarber like none other. Like, that guy is a winner, and that's why I think that he's going to be the guy to get us to the World Series, hopefully. Who do you got?
There's so many. I'm playing visuals in my mind right now. What I think, I'm trying to think. You would think Bryce, just the way he's hitting.
Thank you, Miles Michaelis.
Right, it's just his profile. Everyone knows who Bryce Harper is. I think if he has a somewhat decent series and the Phillies win, they'll give it to him anyway. But I'm going to go outside the box. I'm going to go with Alec Bohm.
Yep.
I think just the way that he bounced back after, I effing hate this place, that stuff, and just the way he stays on the baseball recently. His hands are inside. Just the way he's staying on the baseball. I just love the way he's. Anyway, now I'm going to go Alec Bohm, and I could easily see Bryce. And I can see a lot of guys. I can see that's a good pick, and I think Alec Bohm is my pick. JT, I could see.
Yeah, so
everybody.
Like, so far, you see guys that have stepped up in every series. The Cardinal series was the Alec Bohm series. The last series was the Bryce Harper series. Like, he hit 500 that entire series. So I think my main choice is Schwarber, but I think an under the radar pick, Nick Castellanos. I think
I think that's a good. And that was
we
a
need bad things to happen. We need people to die. We need crashes to happen for Nick Castellanos to channel his power.
Yep,
We need
absolutely.
it.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see a lot of guys, but yeah, I think just this whole team. That's what we're such a we're trying to think, and that's how good this team is right now.
Yeah, that's how deep there
guys.
are.
There's so many guys on this
And
team.
it feels like it's a different guy every day that's
And
stepping up.
Sosa, didn't he ever? He had a great game in game one. He had a couple hits. Rob, that's another one. Rob, put him in the lineup. We're like, what? I don't know about this. And he has 2 hits and makes a great play on defense.
Works out.
He's just all this is working out, and I just.
It's been great.
Phillies in 6, and Bohm is my MVP.
All right, I got Phillies in 6, Schwarber MVP, and then yeah, I think that's really all we got. I think. Do you have anything else? Anything you'd like to add? Would you like to plug any of your social media things, my friend?
Instagram handle is Hartman Matt 26. Twitter Hartman 26. But here's another thing I could see just before we go. I could see. Obviously, he has some arm issues, Zach Wheeler, but in the past. But I think that, like the way that Bumgarner was used with the Giants, game 1, game 5, and if they need him to come back in game 7, the bullpen, I could see them.
Because remember, he missed that month, so he's got a lot to.
The only thing is no day off. So
yes, that is true.
Kind of sucks. So he'd be pitching on 2 days rest, which is kind of a stretch. But he could come in for an inning. But yeah, it's just one last thought.
We're looking forward to it.
7. That's why I'd have no one game.
Gotcha. So the next time, at least I record, Matt, you're always welcome back. Thank you for coming on. Next time, hopefully we're talking about the NL pennant winning Philadelphia Phillies, hopefully, or it's going to be a very positive podcast. We're going to reflect on the season, what happened, why it was a success, even though if hopefully it doesn't end, if it does end, but that's all for me. Matt, thank you again for coming on. It's been great. I'll leave all your links in so people can follow you and they can send you very fun things. Thanks for coming on, and we'll see you in the next one.